The crisis in Afghanistan is reaching a critical phase as thousands await evacuation amid the Taliban takeover. The Afghans who worked with Western countries are the most desperate to get out, but that journey hasn't been smooth, and confusion is setting in on how exactly that will happen. Ankara has rejected British media reports that the UK is planning to set up offshore processing centers for Afghan refugees inside countries like Turkey. Already hosting the largest number of refugees in the world, Ankara says it cannot handle another migrant wave and that the world needs to do more. Thousands of Afghans have made the perilous journey through Iran towards Turkey. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged European countries to take more responsibility for any new influx coming from Afghanistan. He also warned that Turkey has no intention of becoming Europe's refugee warehouse. To better prepare, Turkey is bolstering security along its eastern border with Iran to stop the flow of illegal crossings. But will that be enough? And how will a potential Afghan refugee crisis affect Iran? And to answer that, joining me now from Istanbul is Mehmet Celik. He is the managing editor at Daily Sabah. And from Tehran, Abbas Aslani. He's a senior fellow at the Center for Middle East Strategic Studies. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Mehmet, Turkey has denied a reported plan by the UK for Turkey to be a processing center for Afghan refugees that it will eventually take in. Why do you think the British media came up with such a method? Was there a miscommunication or is there a confusion? What's happening?
Well, I think it could be a miscommunication, a confusion, but also I think could be a testing as well, testing of the public opinion or political figures on the Turkish side. But I think one thing is clear here is that whether this is the UK's intention and maybe European Union's intention at a large, or European continent as a refugee receiving continent. If this is their intention. But one thing is for sure is that Turkey does not know about this. And I think that's a huge political and diplomatical problem, given the scale and how big this refugee wave could be. So I think this could be a media manipulation as well. But at the same time, we should acknowledge that Turkey has been very clear on its position with regards to how this refugee issue or the migrant wave should be handled.
So, Abbas, would you agree with Mehmet? I mean, do you believe that such moves are aimed at putting pressure on countries like Turkey and Pakistan? Or was the UK indirectly suggesting Afghans to go to those countries? Because we have seen and read similar statements from Greece lately, too.
Well, I think it can be the combination of both. Because the countries outside the region, they have created these messes in the region, and now that the issue of instability or the refugees in the region, they ask the regional countries to bear those problems. They are far away from this part of the world, from the region, and now that the recent developments have been happening in Afghanistan, they try to keep away and to avoid what is happening in Afghanistan and to avoid the consequences. And just one-sidedly, they want the regional countries to bear all the problems.
Yes.
The problems that the origin of them are from countries from outside the region. And this is something that they need to be more responsible when it comes to issues of this kind.
And Turkey has been serving as a safe haven for Syrian refugees fleeing violence for a decade now. But with the catastrophic turn of events in Afghanistan, we see re-emphasis of this role being pushed by some European leaders as well as some European high-ranking officials. So Turkey says it cannot handle another migrant wave. So what is the best solution?
I think the best solution would be to eliminate all the causes of this migration flow. You know, the United States has left a region where it has been involved for 20 years, but all it has left behind is instability, insecurity, and uncertainty for millions living in that region or in that country per se. Once again, the United States is leaving the region, and the region's countries now have to deal with the problem. This is exactly what has happened in previous involvements in Iraq, for example. And now in Syria also, Turkey has been dealing with the refugees for the past decade almost, and it's not a small amount. Turkey does not and cannot handle any major waves anymore. I think it becomes a problem for the region as a security problem, as a humanitarian problem, as a social integration problem for Turkey, and also political and economic problem for Turkey. Turkey has always been approaching a refugee issue from a humanitarian perspective,
Yes.
and has been, very well, has been a really good example for the international community. But I think the fact that this goodwill has been there for a long period of time, it should not be exploited by the Western countries, particularly the United States and the European Union. Turkey
Yes.
has no more room left for that capacity, both on tangible terms, in terms of economical terms and social integration, but also I
Yes.
think Turkish government is very well aware of the public opinion on the refugees as well.
Yes, it seems Turkey has reached its breaking point. So we also know that Turkey is reinforcing its border with Iran to prevent another migrant wave. What is the current situation at the border? Abbas, do you know anything about that? And do you believe that Turkey and Iran are in now close contact and coordinate their efforts?
Well, Iran for decades have been hosting millions of Afghans. About 3 to 4 million Afghans for decades have been living in Iran as a result of the instability at different times in Afghanistan. And, with the recent developments in Afghanistan happening, it's no surprise that maybe some more people might be coming toward Iran or other parts of the region in order to find a heaven. So for sure, there needs to be a communication between Iran and Turkey, as well as also engaging with the Afghan side on this issue. It was interesting to hear from the Croatian president saying that the United States created the mess by its, let's say, untimely withdrawal from Afghanistan, and they have to be hosting the refugees. But we know that the Americans would not do that. So the real solution, I think, to this problem rests in those extra regional countries to stop their intervention in the region and to stop making the region insecure. And if they really are after solutions, they have to let the regional people to decide about their future. And
Yes.
I think the real solution rests in those long-term policies. But for the short term, there needs to be coordination between regional countries, including Iran, Turkey, and maybe countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan itself, China, and India, and other countries, in order to have a short-term solution to
Yes.
this, and then they can start to talk about long-term solutions.
So, Mehmet, how do you think this potential refugee influx could impact relations between Iran and Turkey, since neither wants to host more refugees?
Well, I think at this point, both countries have no choice but actually to cooperate and manage this crisis that has occurred beyond their control or decision-making processes. So, if Iran is not taking necessary measures within its borders, and Turkey is not doing its political engagement for this problem to stop, I think both countries will actually will at some point, at least politically, will clash, and because this is something that this wave is something that both countries can no longer tolerate. Iran has been hosting refugees, like Abbas said, for decades, and given its economic situation, it's no longer able to do that.
Yes.
And Turkey as well. So I think political, diplomatic cooperation, both at the leadership level and also on the ground, I think it's the best solution that both countries can do. And I think two countries can also contribute to Afghanistan's stability for this wave to actually stop. I think once people leave beyond their borders, once they exit the borders, it makes it harder for the problem to be contained.
Yes.
I think the main solution will have to be in Afghanistan itself. So political engagement with whether it's going to be with Taliban or another actor in Afghanistan. I think that's the most sustainable solution, and that's what Turkey has been pushing for
Yes.
diplomatically.
So, Abbas, could the possible Afghan migrant crisis be an opening for Iran's new president? Because President Raisi has been portrayed as a hardliner who Western countries could have a tough time negotiating with. Could the need to address the chaos in Afghanistan help overcome that mistrust?
Well, I think, the Iranian president, as he is taking office, is facing lots of challenges, including the developments in Afghanistan, the refugees, crisis. Iran's foreign policy when it comes to Afghanistan has been subject to continuity rather than change by a change in administration in Tehran. So I think he will try to engage with other countries, including with Turkey, in order to be able to resolve this issue and to use the most potentials they can. And what is important, I think, is in addition to Iran and Turkey, are the other countries, maybe in the region, or even European, countries, or the United States. The U.S. at the time of its interests, they have attacked some countries in the region. They have invaded the region. But when there has been the issue of problem or the need of the, for example, the country of Afghanistan and Afghan people, we are not seeing them there, and they are evading this part of the region. So I think Iranian new president, by his engagement with regional countries, can use this opportunity in order to, let's say, bring more cooperation in the region, and furthermore to try to find a solution. And if he is able to do so, this crisis can be an opportunity for him in order to find a better solutions for the problems in the region. One is Afghanistan, and there can be other issues in the region which they can touch upon.
Yes, all right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.